So we start to increase our expectations. We start having them sit at curbs and stop at corners. We then bring them down to the train, see their reaction to the train. Believe it or not, I've had dogs back away from them. I've had dogs try to chase the train. I've had other dogs just sit there and kind of be like, oh, cool, what's that thing? You know, and then they see all these people get off and they're like, oh, people for me. They're here to see me. So we just want to see what the dog's reaction is. You know, if a dog is afraid, what we might end up doing is go back to and visit the train a couple different times. I've had dogs who were terrified, and I've had to start like back over there as the train comes in. We'll bring a toy and, you know, just kind of make it a fun experience, you know, no harness or anything, and just get them comfortable with being on the platform as the train comes in. From there, we kind of go to another route that's a little bit longer, and then we do our midterm blindfolds, where I'm blindfolded, and Tim and one of my other 7 dogs that I have in my string. I take each of them out individually. It's a specific route we do in town, and that way I have an idea of where I need to go and also kind of what to expect. You know, along one stretch, I know there's outdoor cafes, so the dog might have to make a lot of moves around tables and chairs and trees and parking meters, all those kind of things. After that, really, that's just to kind of see how is the dog progressing. Are they average? Are they excelling? Are they taking a little bit longer to pick up on things? So might they need a little bit extra time? And this is all just a quick estimate after about 6 to 8 weeks of training, not even quite halfway through. You know, we're kind of just getting an idea, because at this point, my supervisor is starting to look at files of people, of blind students who are looking to come in for a dog that are slated for our class. You know, let's see how they continue in their training. If the dog might need a little bit more time, we'll see, let's see how they do, but we're not going to count on this dog 100% because maybe they have a terrible fear of cars or a terrible fear of something, but they're showing improvement. As I'm sure all of you have, you know, known of a dog that has been released from the program, there are certain things, if a dog is terribly afraid of something, we're not going to force them into do this. You know, all of the dogs enjoy what they do. I'm sorry, am I boring you? So, you know, the dogs enjoy what they do. How they show it in their mannerisms, you know, they move out, you know, their ears might be flapping depending on what kind of breed it is, tail might be up and wagging, but not all the time is the dog's tail wagging just because they, you know, they enjoy the job. It might just be back. But they'll get to a corner and they did something right, and then they'll start to whack, you know. So they're like, oh, I know I did something right. So after the midterms, then we kind of move into freelance, which is basically anything and everything under the sun that you might do on a day-to-day basis. Every dog is going to have distraction. If you come across a dog that doesn't have distraction, you might want to check their pulse, or at least make sure they're snoring. Because it's in their natural behavior. You know, it's a born characteristic. It's just a matter of can we channel it and get them focused back on the job. You know, I have plenty of dogs that walk along, they're like, oh, look, a squirrel. Okay, and I'm going to keep going. That's what we are looking, you know, that's what we try to look for, is can we keep it, you know, regain their focus easily. So I've trained Tim for the past 4 months. I am set to go into class August 31st. I have 5 students assigned to me. My other 3 teammates each have 4 or 5. We have 21 total coming in, and there are probably about 45 to 50 dogs that are fully trained. So even the youngest here can do the math. Every dog is not going to get a person. So the dogs that do not go into class, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It just means that their person didn't happen to come into our group. Those dogs will then, we kind of term them as holdovers, and it just kind of means that they're, I don't want to say left behind because that sounds horrible, but they just were not matched, and that's how just kind of how we code them, and they get reassigned to another instructor just to make sure that their skills stay up to date. However, if he gets reassigned to another instructor, he can go into the class after ours, or 3 classes after ours, or sometimes in certain circumstances we'll train someone in their home area because of their life situation. They can't come away from their home for 2.5 or 3.5 weeks. So we'll actually pick a dog for them and bring the dog to them and train them. We only do probably maybe 15, 20 a year. So as I said, there's not a whole lot because on a financial end it's not really smart. But there are some extenuating circumstances where people cannot, so we'll do that. So fingers crossed for Tim's people that he will go in, as well as the other 7 dogs in my group. I can use them, or also any of my teammates can use Tim. So just because I might not have a student for Tim, one of my teammates might have a student that would fit him, and then they can use him. So, and I will also explain things as we go through, and I'll do an approach from both ways, even though the main way is this way. All right, ready, bud? So Tim forward. He's already making a move this way. Good. So he's going around that. Dropping his head a little bit to sniff, but he's going around, completely avoiding this. Good boy, Tim. Hop up. Hop. Right. Hop. Right. So I'm reminding him to the right, since he went to the left around things. I'm reminding him to go back to the right. Starting to slow down. He's like, uh-oh. Tim, hop up. So as we came down, he avoided the PVC pipe and came over here. He realized that he saw this obstacle. He's like, I'm not going to bring her back to the path to just have to go back around again. So that was him actually planning ahead. So he kind of brought himself around. And since we made the move to the left, I reminded him, hey, we want to go back to the right. So he moved me this way. We went up to the barrier. I stood in place and told him, hop up. He's kind of like, I know we need to get over there, but how exactly am I doing this? And by me standing next to him, come here, Tim. By me standing next to him, I'm essentially a barrier for him to make that move to the right. So I don't know if you guys noticed, I took a small step back kind of to open that space for him to come around in front of me, because if I'm continuing to stand there, he's gonna be like, okay, I'm done. I don't know what to do now. I'm barricaded in. So if I take that step back, that opens up that space and lets him make that move. So he came around, and then I reminded him, hey, you know, okay, we went into it, let's go back around to the left and get back to the path, and he brought me around to the path. That's it, good boy. So he's already making the move. Hop up. Wait, hop up. Hop. He's like, but there's people over here, right? Right? Good boy, hop. So that is my responsibility to make sure he's paying attention. Good? Hop up. So he's already slowing down. He's like, oh, wait, hop up. Good. That's it. Wait, hop up. Good boy. Being very clear. Good. Starting to bring me back to the right, but waited until I'm after this. That's a good boy. So, as far as that, sit. You know, that was my job, but I'm not necessarily giving him a direction, left or right, because if I were blind, he might actually be taking me around something. So I don't want to completely give him a direction or make him change his mind. I just use the command hop up, and which basically reminds him, no, keep going in the safe path. All right? Any questions?
How old is he?
Tim is about probably 16, 17 months. How old's Winter?
He's
He was
almost
born the 26th of December.
almost 2.
So So yeah, probably around. Yeah, for the most part, when they come back and get matched, they're anywhere between 18 and 24 months. It kind of, or probably 20, 24 months usually is about when they're matched with a person. So we kind of pick them up around 16. So it's probably about 20 months.